Back, if you watch the first little bit of our Rantsylvania on the chat ski about the ladder ski, it's been pretty good ski. So I'm going to get the ladder back up. And Jamie, I'm telling you now, mate, there is no chance whatsoever that they are going to be able to make finals. And I'm talking about
Well,
so it is set. I'm telling you that final 8 is set. And if I'm wrong, let me know. Tell me about it. I don't think I am. But, I think the ladder is set. Done. Kaputski. Just a matter of how it's going to be done in terms of that final 8, how it's going to be set up.
brave man. Brave man.
Brave man. Hey, I'm willing to put the agates on the chopping board, mate.
Can I ask some questions?
Go for it.
Is that okay?
Yes, you may.
All right. As a Melbourne supporter, Peps.
Yep.
Now don't do your normal. Just spare us all your normal Melbourne rant.
Yep.
Spare us your Gary Pert endorsed messages where you just come onto the podcast, you take over for like the next 15, 20 minutes and talk about players that only you care about and 99% of our listeners don't. Okay.
Okay.
How are you going? Because Saturday night was from me as a Port supporter and you as a Melbourne supporter, it wasn't a great game. In fact, I would say it's probably one of the worst games I've ever actually witnessed in my life. But on top of that, Peps, the Melbourne Football Club seems to be in a crisis at the moment. Do you have anything to say about the rumours of a potential Viney to North or a Petrarca very unhappy or a general vibe, a marbo of the situation down there at Nam? Here's your chance to have a bit of a rant, Peps, and tell us what's going on.
In my humble opinion, or what I'm seeing, or what I'm feeling,
what you're seeing from a club that won the premiership in 2021.
Yep, so 3 years ago, mate. I am that disillusioned right now. It's not funny. I'm lost. Where there's smoke, there's fire, mate. There's lots of fires going on at the moment. You've got. If you've been in a football club, you know there's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of crap that gets spoken about. You know, there's a lot of clickbait out there. There's a lot of, we're going to get the story. We're going to get the story. There's too much of it at the moment. There's way too much of it. Now, I know we're a dying carcass. We're being the easy beats in terms of we're being the clickbait. If Melbourne got $1 for every time a story for us was clickbaited this year, we would be the highest revenue rated club in the AFL because everything from Clayton Oliver, Goodwin, Petrarca's injury, Brayshaw going down with Maynard, Joel Smith, Gorney being injured, Gorney looking after Oliver, Glenn Bartlett, you name all that sort of stuff coming to fruition. We are now after round 23, the people have spoken. The people have spoken. The people are pissed. The people want answers. The people seem to be the only ones that can see what's going on. We're getting fluff. Every press conference is exactly the same. There's no emotion. There's no fire. There's no getting pissed off at the reporters. It's just the same message. We'll go learn. We're going to work hard. It's our bread and butter. It's our contest. It's our defense. Mate, I could. It's almost like an AI simulation. He doesn't even have to go to the press conferences anymore. I haven't seen Gary Pert all year. I haven't seen Kate Roffey They were there every minute and a half when we won the grand final, Jamie. Now you don't even see them. They're not even there. So I've heard from a source on the weekend that the Goodwin and Pert are the two big toxic parts down there. And something has to be wrong. There is something wrong. Jamie, we brought in 3 players last year that one we brought in as a ruckman hasn't even played this year. Even when we needed a ruckman, didn't even play him. We tend to get the rejects. We get the ones that John West rejected. There's a reason why clubs got rid of players. We sign players up to stupid length contracts that don't deserve them. We're not ruthless. We seem to be too much of a buddy boys club. And when you have 17,000 turn up on a really cold night with no trains and no buses, I went, okay, that's a let off. We had 1,000 more against your mob on the weekend on a pretty good night of footy. We've spoken. Our game plan looks shit. Our forward line is putrid. Hard calls aren't being made. You got players who are dominating in the VFL are not getting a go. We've been crying out for some forward line action for the last 3 years. We've got nothing. And it is beyond the joke that a club that had a really good list 3 years ago to win a flag, they were talking dynasty. I think that went a bit too far, but you can get excited.
Says the bloke with all the memorabilia behind you.
When you won one in 57 years, my friend, you go with what you've got. But it's hindsight's 2020. Glenn Bartlett must have been onto something, because when Petrarca, when there's news to say that Petrarca, if he was out of contract, he'd ask for a trade. Just stick a fork in me and we're done. We would be done.
And welcome to Dwayne's World. You call, you get on the Midnight Banners. Thank you, Chris Pepper. We're going to go now to someone else.
Dwayne? I want a Dwayne World. Power bank.
Very, 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 very passionate plea, because Port Adelaide obviously is known for their tarps. When is Melbourne going to be recognised for their seagulls?
Seriously. There was that many seagulls out last week. That was a disgrace. That was a disgrace.
It's
I got nothing to say. I got nothing to say. I did have a reason why I couldn't go. Not going to go into it. But couldn't make it.
Couldn't make it. That's fair.
Fair enough. But I'm spewed. I won't be able to get to another Melbourne game for the rest of the year, because the next Friday night game is on the 23rd of August against Collingwood. Mm-hmm. Melbourne's home game, and it's my wife's 50th. I said we could go to a dinner and a show. Not happy. But no, there's some serious changes. You think about it, when Peter Jackson and Paul Roos were running the club, you got to get the off-field right to get the on-field right. I don't know how many times I have to say that, Jdog. We were humming. Pert took over from Jackson, got the goodness, and now it's gone completely backwards. I always look at this, Jdog. There's 18 clubs, 18 pairs of shorts. There's only 2 clubs that didn't have a short sponsor for the entire year up until a couple of weeks ago. One of them is Gold Coast. The other one is Melbourne. How can you not get a shorts sponsor for the oldest club in the AFL who won a flag 2-3 years ago? It's a disgrace.
I think you're overreacting a little bit. A short sponsor.
Oh, mate.
A little tag on the shorts.
A lot of money. That is worth a lot of money. How can you not get a short sponsor? North have got a short sponsor.
Oh my God. You've literally gone full psycho.
Management side of things, they'll definitely agree.
You've gone full kanga tonight.
I'm just peeved. I'm just really peeved, Jdog, at the way things have kicked in. I am genuinely disappointed right now at the way the club is going. And I can see this is what's going to happen. We're going to have another preseason where we get some absolute duds in again. We'll get Houston from your mob, and we'll give you a first round pick 6 for him, for a 28-year-old. What is the stupid shit that we're going to do again?
You've lost it.
I've lost it. And go on Demon Land or Big Footy and check them out. And there's thousands who have also lost it with me. It's a shambles right now. It's a shambles.
All right. I'm going to ask another question. Can I move on from...
I was in the city on the weekend. There was a protest. A massive protest. The people are using their feet. In our case, they do not want to turn up and watch boring, uninspiring football. No wonder why there was, 85,000 yesterday for Carlton Hawthorn? You watch Hawthorn play. Like, they play on a knife's edge. They're risky. They don't care if they make mistakes. Yeah. We've turned into, it's like Dan Andrews is coaching us. We are the nanny state. We're the nanny team. We are the nanny. We've wrapped it. We've wrapped our players. We've wrapped our players in bubble wrap, and you cannot do anything risky because you might turn the ball over. We can't have that.
You've actually you
You asked.
You've lost it. You've actually lost it.
Oh, I'm feral. I am feral.
You've genuinely lost it. Oh, Peps, you've lost the plot. You've lost it. It's taken 22 rounds, but you've lost it.
Oh, the great Williams is Tori's joined us. God, she's beautiful. Simon Bolton's on a return flight from Sydney on Sunday. Did you have a chat to him?
All right.
Or, does he have his... No, don't worry.
Oh, God. All right.
I'm just infuriated. We've had a forward line issue for 3 years, and we hired more backmen.
All right. We need to move on. We need to move on from Melbourne.
Don't kick him. Just save him.
All right. Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
On a club that you just mentioned there. Very, very exciting club. Hawthorn.
Oh, Jake.
How has Sam Mitchell's coaching transformed Hawthorn from a bottom tier team? We were laughing at these guys in the first 7 rounds to a potential finals contender. How has he done it, Peps? What have you seen?
Oh, mate. It's like they had that loss. I think it was GWS where they lost it by a smidge down in Hobart. And they just came out and have gone, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's just have a crack. Let's just do this. And I don't know. Yeah. So we picked up Shane McAdam, who I thought was going to be a good pickup. I thought Billings would be a good pickup. I thought Fullerton would be a good pickup. You asked me about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I told you at the start of the year, a club picked up Fullerton. So look at these. Fullerton, Billings, McAdam versus Chol, D'Ambrosio, and Ginnivan. Who do you think would have got the better 3?
And got back Bruce as well. Yeah.
Don't worry about Gunston.
Okay, sorry, yes.
Those 3. Who would you say? They've done all right for themselves.
I would have probably given it to Melbourne. Yeah.
By a smidge, right? You would have.
Yeah.
You look back now, and 2 out of those 3 can't even get a game. And the one who does, Apples, good old Apples, or should we call him Sarah Lee, Mr. Turnovers himself, against potentially a guy who's transformed their forward line. You got another guy who's a potential all-Australian wingman, and you've got a guy down forward who he might have the sexiest haircut rolling around. He attacks every contest and is getting the most out of him that I don't think Gold Coast or Richmond were able to do. They just play risk versus reward. There's so many contrasting styles. You have a look at the teams that kick the ball through the middle of the ground. They take the risks. They take the game on. It's like, come at me. It's like Jon Snow taking on the Lannisters with his freaking sword, the Battle of the Blood or whatever it was and the dragons come. He's like, come on. And they just take anybody on. They break tackles. They swarm. How they cover the ground is amazing. They've got just the midget squad up forward. They've got the people. And you go through their names and, their turnaround has been unbelievable. And you compare that to teams like Carlton and Essendon, who were sitting top 4, top 5 after round 12, halfway through the season, round 13, sorry. And you look at them now and their turnaround in some areas is just mind-boggling how Hawthorn have just, and I'll probably go Port and Brisbane have gone through the roof, and other teams who've had really good starts have just fallen in a complete heap.
Yeah, do you want to talk about some of the turnaround they've had?
Yeah, so if you have a look at Hawthorn, right, so I've got some AFL premiership metrics after round 13 and round 22. Okay, now what I'm looking at here is I'm just comparing where they were after round 13. Everything is ranked from 1 being the best down to 18 being the worst. Okay. Now, if you have a look at Hawthorn, they had a lot of areas in double digits. So, as an example, the territory game from a Hawthorn perspective, they were ranked 8th for inside 50 differential. They were ranked 11th for meters gained differential, and they were ranked 8th for opposition inside 50s. All right. That was after round 13. Fast forward 10 rounds, you're now looking at Hawthorn sitting 5th for inside 50 differential. They're now sitting 5th for meters gained, and their opposition inside 50s has gone all the way to 3rd. So they are working extremely hard. They've gone from, you know what, not working hard enough and not getting the ball enough to blowing the inside 50 differential away. That means they're getting their hands on the ball more often than not. Means that they're getting it inside 50 more often than not and stopping the opposition from getting it as well too. So they score and they score heavily, and their defense has that time to set themselves up behind the ball. It is extraordinary what they've been able to do in just a sheer number of a couple of weeks. Even from but one thing that wasn't, which was always there, was their pressure factor. Their pressure factor was their turnover differential was 5th, and their opposition clangers was 9th. So even looking at it now, their turnover differential is now 3rd best in the league, and they're still 9th. So when you've got more players getting to the ball more often and being able to cover the ground a lot better than they were, they're now able to turn that ball over less or turn it over more, meaning that the opposition, they're not turning it over as much. So they're now getting a really good spread from where they turn it over to the opposition as well too, because you can't catch them.
Yeah,
it's just an immense. Even from the perspective of like a total points perspective, they were ranked after that particular round, round 13. They were 14th in the league, points kicked.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're 10th. So they've jumped 4 positions in total points scored in only 10 weeks. It is just an extraordinary turnaround. And I don't think many people saw it. Shots at goal differential, 7th. Their percentage was 15th in the league. That's how bad they were tracking. And points from turnover differential, they were tracking at 14th. All right. So we take out turnover differentials, they were 14th. You look at it now, Jdog, they're 5th for shots at goal differential. So they've gone up there. They've gone from 15th to 8th when it comes into percentage. So they've made up half the percentage of the rest of the league in only half a season. And their points from turnover have gone from 14th to 7. They got the 7th. They are just flying in every section.
So is it the fact that you think that maybe Sam Mitchell has he has relaxed, because we know Sam Mitchell is a ethics, hard-driven athlete, high standards back when they were who they were.
Yep.
That's who he is as a natural. Do you think he has let that go to let this young list be individuals and be brilliant at what they do best?
I think there's a part of it where it's yes, and I think it's a part where it's not, where they're doing all their selfies and their gestures and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if he'd be a big advocate of that, but the way that they play, you can only play like that if you're instructed to say, boys, take every risk down the middle. We're going to turn them over. We know that's going to happen. But if we turn it over, but we get our players to that next contest, there's less chance of it going backwards. And, mate, when they get on the outside, there's not many teams that can go with them at all.
Can I sustain it?
We've just got winners all over.
Can I sustain this momentum?
Why can't? Well, I think that they can, because they haven't been doing it all season. They lost their first 5 games, you've got to remember.
Yeah.
So they haven't been playing. So they are like, why not? Like, why not us? Why not us? It's an extra. I don't think I've seen a turnaround like this outside of Sydney, when I think they lost their first 6 and made the grand final.
Mm-hmm.
Could be wrong. But they made finals after losing their first 6. Hawthorn are going to make finals after losing their first 5.
Okay.
And the way that this could be a perfect storm where they make finals and beat teams because they're on the rise, and those teams that they're playing against are on the slide.
Well, that's what
And that's
Tori
what,
mentioned in her comment on the chat. Is it does have a very 2016 Western Bulldogs feel to it.
yep, a very, very different, has a very, very good feel about that. It also reminds me, and once again, I can only go by my guys, but when Melbourne in 2000, they didn't have a great season and they came home with a wet sail and made the grand final. Same with 1987 to make finals for the first time in a very long time. They had to win like their last 11 games or something. They just went on a streak. Teams go on a streak. It feels a little bit different than the Doggies at the moment. I think they play just awesome footy. But they've got to get the finals. But there is so much to like about them. But then you have a look at a couple of teams, and who had the worst loss on the weekend? Would you say Essendon or would you say Carlton?
I'd probably say probably Carlton, just due to the amount of injuries.
Yep. All right.
It's a double whack.
Yeah. So what are they? They're outside the 8. So they were 11-4, and now they're outside of the 8. All right. So after round 13, let's just do a bit of a comparison. We saw what happened with Hawthorn. Let's have a look what's happened with Carlton. So from a Carlton perspective, they were sitting shots at goal differential, 7th. Percentage, 7th. Points from turnover differential, okay, was 2nd. Now, those exact same metrics, they're 10th, 9th, and they're still 2nd when it comes to the points on turnover. All right?
Mm-hmm.
But it gets even worse. You can have a look at something along the lines of the defense has been pretty standard. The inside 50, so their inside 50s, they were sitting at 13th for inside 50 differential, meters gained at 6th, 12th for inside 50s. Now they're 6th for inside 50 differential, 11th for meters gained, and 10th for opposition points from opposition inside 50s. So what's happened is, unfortunately, they're just not getting their hands on the ball again. If Cripps doesn't get his hands on the ball, if Walsh doesn't get his hands on the ball, if Akers doesn't get his hands on the ball, Chera's not performing as much as he should. It just means that they're not working to get to the next contest to get the ball. It makes it really challenging to be able to do that. So they are in a world of hurt at the moment. Even if you have a look at turnover differential was 8th, opposition clangers was 8th. Now you're looking at the same thing. Their turnover differential's 9th, and their opposition clangers has gone up to 4th.
Yeah. And I think for me, watching the game yesterday was the fact that, like, Hawthorn obviously had a man advantage in terms of not having a full interchange versus 0 or 1 for Carlton. And so the fitness for me was a big one where you noticed that they were just turning it over, like, very, very, very often because the players were tired.
And I can understand that when you've got injuries. But they're just, like, everything that was awesome about them at the start of the year seems to have disappeared.
Yep.
You can even have a look at it from, like, Essendon's perspective as well, too. Like, they were, at that particular moment in time, they were sitting 12th and 13th for the scoring differential side of things. Now they're sitting at 11th, 15th for percentage, and 13th from points turn. They're just not being able to do anything at the moment, Essendon. They're going backwards. Their total points has gone completely backwards. They had the 10th most points. They've gone to 12th now.
So can I ask this question then about Essendon?
Yep.
Is the collapse a sign of underlying problems within the team, or was it just an off day? Like,
all right, I don't think they're working hard enough, to be honest. Jamie, they had a turnover differential and an opposition clangers differential. Okay. When you talk about pressure, they were 3rd in the league on both of those at round 13.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're 6th. So they're twice as bad as where they were. Now, 6 is still a pretty good number. But they've laxed.
They've dropped off.
They've dropped off. They have dropped off. Yep. They have dropped off.
It has been noticeable whether it's. Uh, I think it's just their lack of experience in those really high pressure situations where it's been exposed a couple of times now through this season that they'll let another one slip like this. Last week against Fremantle, there was no expectation on them to win. Freo got out to 20 points ahead in the final quarter, and all of a sudden, Essendon roared back. This one here, I think there were multiple moments in that game. It's been highlighted by Fox Footy and all those guys to show that there were moments where it could have and it should have been put on ice, but their lack of composure under those high pressure moments really cost them. No more damning than letting
Andrew
have a clear jump at the ball.
Look, take it for all it's worth. Mac Andrew is a gun. He is amazing. But I just look at Essendon and, you know, Mick Moldhouse said on the radio on the weekend, he made a very, very good point. He said that he was never convinced because their percentage was so low. Like, he thinks the best indicator of any team, regardless of points, is their percentage. Because that's what you're scoring and that's what you're defending. So they were getting wins, but they weren't scoring. And so when you don't score, you're not going to win many games. That's a valid point.
Can I ask another question on the team? Since we're just firing through a couple. Are you a believer in the Giants? As a genuine premiership contender, are you a believer?
Yeah. I think I am. I think I am. You have to have a good defense. You have to have grunt in the middle, and you have to have multiple forward options. They've got the lot. Like, you think about it, Toby Green has not had the best season. He's starting to pick up at the right time of the year.
Except for last weekend.
Yeah, okay.
He had 4. Dirty day.
All right. Hogan. Cadman.
Yeah.
All right. Then you got Daniels running around at the feet as well too. You got Callum Brown who's also there. You got the backline side of things. You know, Sam Taylor, best backman, almost best fullback in the league. Briggsy in the middle. Like, Callum Ward's leading, like, from a leadership perspective. Cornelio's playing good football again.
Kelly's playing good footy again.
They had their real lull in the middle of the year, but they're picking it up at the right time. And it's now when you need to get it. It's like Bathurst, mate. Doesn't matter what you do for the first 160 laps. It's the last 5 laps or whatever it is that it really counts. So if you have a lull, have it then. And now they're picking up steam and they're just mowing down everybody. It's like the 1500 at the Olympics for the men. He's like that American bloke who was just mowing them down in the last 100 meters. While they're going backwards, we're going to take a little bit from a little bit. And here's
my concern though, Peps, and it's your concern you had with Sydney. Is their slow starts are concerning to me.
Yeah.
They didn't play against Carlton until the second quarter. They didn't play against Brisbane Lions until the second quarter.
Yeah, they had a slow start against us as well too. A couple of weeks ago, we kicked the first 5 of the game. I think it was. They still won. So, yeah, that's something that they need to tighten up. But if that's all that they need to tighten up, that's okay. That's okay. Like, it's not the end of the world. It is a bit of it depends also what team you're playing as well too. If you have a slow start against a Hawthorn, you're in trouble. If you have a slow start against Sydney, it's not going to make much of a difference because they start slow as well. So that could be a bit of a grind.
Can I talk about another club that you can't stop talking about?
Yep.
Okay. Now, we know Geelong's win over Fremantle was a crucial one. What aspect of their game stood out? And that's a 2-part question. How important is Dangerfield to their finals campaign?
Oh, massive. I'd never thought it would be. I've always thought Dangerfield's a bit overrated.
Yep.
That's what I've thought for a long time. I think he's overrated. But then he goes ahead and does stuff. And I just love the way he bursts out of a pack. He's so good overhead. He can burst out of a situation. And if he kicks it like he should, he's pretty laced out with stuff as well. He is getting on, but he's a big boy you have to tackle. And if you can't tackle him, good luck.
I know it's a cliche, but God, the leadership he showed on Friday night was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Like the fact that he was back to Danger that you expected Danger to be.
Yep.
Clearance, beast, forward line nuisance, and just the ability to keep going and going and going and getting that ball forward. Yeah, I think that was one of Dangerfield's best games in a very long time.
Well, mate, yeah, you have a look at this. So he's so from his perspective, right? He's down on his percentages over his career. He averages about 23 disposals a game. He's averaging 19 at the moment, so that's only 4. All right, but that's sort of a good thing in a way because if he's spreading the load a bit and not playing as much, that's all right. His kicking is above average, so that's pretty much the same. He's just not getting as many handballs, not taking as many marks, but he's tackling a lot more, and he's getting just the same amount of clearances as he's been getting as well too. So from his perspective, yeah, there's a little bit less on his output, 5 to 5.5 when it ranks, and 5.5 clearances a game is still classified as above average. 4.5 tackles a game is still above average. So he's almost saying, you know what, I'll be the in and under guy. Let me hustle and bustle. I'll play less minutes, but when he's almost like a bruiser in an ice hockey team. Doesn't play as many minutes, but when he's there, he goes bang, off, on again, bang, makes a difference. Yeah, he's having, and he's fit. That's the thing too. He hasn't had the greatest run over the last couple of years. He's back to his awesome fitness, which is what we'd love to see. I'm wrapped for him. I'm really happy for him to see how he's going.
The amount of times that we've written off Geelong, or specifically you've written off Geelong,
that many times. Don't get me started, mate. I would almost think they deserve to.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's. Yep. How they do it. And I look at that club, and then I look at clubs like yours. I look at clubs like mine. Look at clubs. I won't say Richmond at this moment in time. I look at clubs like West Coast, Adelaide, St Kilda. I'll throw in Essendon and Carlton in there where they want to rejuvenate themselves and get back into finals action. They happen to be able to do it week after week after week after week, year after year. They're just so good at rejuvenating on the fly. We're jealous of them. Something chronic. I'd love to be able to be able to do what they do, but they just seem to do it and they do it well. I love it.
And they don't just make the finals; they tend to be top 4s.
Yep,
it's incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. I think they've made finals 17 of the last 18 or 19 seasons. It's a ridiculous amount.
And 14 of those have been top 4.
Yeah. It just goes to show that when they peak, they peak. It's interesting though when you're looking at first quarters played and what they've won. It's amazing we say that Sydney is slow starters, yet they've won 15 of their 21 first quarters this year. Your Mob is second. GWS are the same, and Geelong are the same.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a look at the clubs that haven't been winning first quarters this year: Richmond, North, West Coast, Adelaide, St Kilda, Melbourne, Gold Coast, and Collingwood.
Okay.
It's done it. So, if you win your first quarters, there's a good chance you're going to win the game.
Well, before I jumped on with you today, they were talking. I heard David King talk on this morning about now you do not want to be leading at 3/4 time. You want to be chasing. You want to be within 2 goals because that seems to be turned it around. We're seeing a much higher percentage now of the last 7 rounds than we have for the first 18, whatever it was.
It's climate change for you, mate.
It's climate change. I think everyone's just stunned.
That's just an anomaly. Like, I think that comes down to that has nothing to do except mentality.
But I think the overall thing, Peps, that we've spoken about, is once teams get a momentum on you, 30 points isn't safe these days. Momentum is really hard to coach against these days. Well, who do you think if you want to go by that, who do you think the best last quarter team is in the league? Last quarter team. So they've won the most last quarters. Do some random one like, I don't know. Let's go Freo, actually.
Okay. It's Sydney.
Okay.
Who's second? That's the one that I'll like go, huh?
Okay. So is it someone like a West Coast or someone?
You're close. It's St Kilda.
Yeah.
St Kilda have won the second most last quarters this year with 14. So what are they doing for the other three?
But then they're not.
Bulldogs, Geelong, Carlton, Adelaide, Port, and Fremont. So isn't it interesting that you've got two clubs sitting in the bottom half of the ladder, bottom quarter of the ladder, when we're talking about Adelaide and St Kilda, who have won the most, won 50, almost 60% of their last quarters this year, but they haven't been able to do anything to win games.
Yeah. See, that to me is where stats can sometimes get a little bit not telling the full story because teams put cues in the rack.
Yep. The interesting one is Essendon have had 3 draws this year in the last quarter. So they can't win games and they can't stop the opposition either.
Yeah.
Stats are fantastic. And you've won your last 5 quarters as well, too, last 5 games. So awesome to see. But yeah, those statistical sort of breakdowns of the way things are. And you could go through every team. You could even have a look at the bottom end of the scale where teams like North Melbourne, they're still sitting like 18th, 17th, 16th. But those 18s are becoming 17s and those 17s are becoming 16s. So they're getting a little bit of gradual development, of gradual. The interesting one that makes the interesting one, and you'll be fascinated by this one. Let me just check. No, don't worry about it. Ignore it.
That's all right.
No, ignore it. I thought it was Sydney, but it wasn't. But yeah, so there's lots of things to look at, lots of things to slice and dice. But the one thing that I would be concerned about if anyone right now is that the Brisbane Lions were sitting at 61% of their statistical breakdown in the top 6. They're now sitting at 72. So they've got better. Now they had a bit of a mare on the weekend, but hey, didn't they play well?
Yeah.
So it's good. Hey, I've got a lot of things that have come in on the chat. I want to go through them really quickly.
Sure.
Tori spoke about the Hawks with that feeling. Craigie Jones, did I get horny on Saturday night? No, but I love the way he has that fluffy mo. If he tucked his jumper in, he'd be the perfect footballer. Shorts up, tucked in, socks up. Love it. Jazz boy, yes, you should have beaten the Wet Toast Eagles. Buzz, it's always been 1 week at a time, Peps. Yes, it is. But unfortunately, 1 week leads into 2, into 3, into a month, and then turns into a season. And yeah, Big Mac should be as good as Alia. I'm telling you now, Jazz, Mac Andrew will annihilate Alia. He's a freak. And as my wife said, those African boys can jump, can't they, Chris? He has his socks up for his dad, Fabian. Well, doesn't matter what excuse it is. You should always have your socks up when you play football. Sign of class, in my humble opinion. What else you got for me, Jdog? Another question.
Not so much questions, Peps. Not so much questions. Yep. What I was going to ask you. I had a question for you.
Yep. And if you're watching the show right now, live on YouTube or Facebook, if you've got a question for us, throw it at us. We'll definitely on the show.
This on the back of the Geelong question. Where do you see Geelong finishing up?
I would like Geelong to finish 2nd, 5th, or 6th.
Where do you think they will finish up, though?
Probably none of those spots. Probably finish 4th. And the reason why I say that is that the way I'm going, I'm not going to be getting much value out of my MCC membership come finals time this year. Because there could be no finals in Melbourne for the first 2 weeks. And that's not good. That's not good. So we need some of these Victorian teams to push their way up into home finals. So we need Geelong to finish 2nd, please. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult. Yep. So I reckon they're a massive chance if they just keep doing what they're doing. Hey, Craig Jones, great question. You might have missed this at the start, but where will Petrarca be next year? Well, he will be at Melbourne.
Maybe.
No, he's still got 5 years left on his contract. So if you want him, give me 3 first rounders for him. Yeah. Are Melbourne fans fair weather fans? Oh, I wouldn't say we're fair weather fans. I think that we do like a winning team. Let's be honest. Uh, I don't think we like night games. I'll probably say that. I don't think we're a night games type of team. Because we played West Coast a couple of weeks earlier and we had 32,000 there. So that was like, wow, that was a big crowd for that. I think if you missed the start of the show, Craig, I had a bit of a rant and Jamie had a bit of a cry over it. But yeah, there's lots of things going on in Melbourne in not in a good way. Yep, exactly right, Tori. MFC are mostly older folk as well. Yep, I'd probably agree with that. So they can't, they're let out of their retirement homes after 7. So that could be another reason why. But I will say that yeah, we need Petrarca for Houston straight swap. He could get banned. No, no.
I would actually 100% do that deal.
In my opinion, we're in a lot of trouble. I know you'd do that deal, and you'd probably want something else from us.
Would get it.
It probably would. Now we're in a lot of trouble, Melbourne, off the field.
Peps.
Yes.
I've got 10 players here that are named that have that their surnames share the same name as towns in Australia.
Okay.
You interested in that list?
Huh?
You interested in that list?
Tell me what that list is.
Gary Ablett. Ablett is similar to the Ablett Village in New South Wales.
Okay.
Nathan Buckley matches the town of Buckley in Victoria. Nick Rewalt. Wow, I've gone obscure. Rye in Victoria.
You ChatGPT this, didn't you?
Goods in Queensland. No, I was just looking at some names.
This is just stupid. That's just you've got 4 in, and we're like
Joel Selwood Park in South Australia. What else we got?
Jim
Dangerfield, Point Danger.
Buckley from Great GWS, like Buckley Park in Nidri.
See, just get along. If we had a lot of time, we would sit there and actually go through a whole list of players' names and actually work it out.
No, we wouldn't.
We can make up like the All Australian towns of surnames 22.
Lee Ali has just said this, and I think it's perfect. Just give it up, Jdog.
That's pretty good. Peps, do you know what though?
Yep.
I heard some great chat about the All Australian team. Someone called up last week on one of the radio shows and said, why don't we have, because they're trying to work, what are we going to do with that week between the finals? We can't just let another game, the fizz.
Well, the wild card, well, just get rid of that weekend.
No.
That week, Jamie.
This is what they suggested, Peps.
No, Jamie, do not need a suggestion. Just get rid of the week after the last game and the first final. Get rid of it.
I do agree.
Get rid of it. And put that week before the grand final. That's where it should be, if you're going to have a break.
I do agree. Do you know what I'd love to see, though?
AFL. What?
But then I realize it doesn't work now. It brought me back to the 90s when there used to be an Australia A and Australian B team.
Okay, yep.
And you see the old one-day matches between Australia A and Australia B. I'm thinking, because my biggest gripe about the All-Australian is they don't play anyone. So what does it matter? I thought out of the list of the 40-man squad, you could have a 44-man squad.
Mm-hmm.
Then you could have 2 teams, Australia A, Australia B, AFL teams play each other to fill in that week if they wanted to have it. But then the problem is the All-Australia A team probably going to be full of finals-bound players anyway. So it wouldn't quite work.
That was a good idea. I like the way that you worked your way through that one. Didn't have to bring out the Lego bricks, but it was very well done. Very well done. No, I'm in agreement. It's like State of Origin. We'd love to have it back, but
it's dead.
It's dead. It's dead because the club's killed it.
Well, I would rather not do State of Origin because they run it parallel. They run State of Origin along with League during the same week, so I'm pretty sure. But they put these really shitty teams out for the other.
Yeah.
Like you got a real mix of results.
Yep, you do.
I would rather not see that.
Yeah. No,
I'd rather see your team as full strength.
I don't think we're going to have that at all. So, look, it's a pipe dream, but it's not going to happen. You know, it's not going to be a pipe dream, Jdog. This weekend of footy. If we ever look at 1 week at a time, yeah, we keep saying there's just games that it is out of control right now. What is going to happen this weekend of footy? Can I go through what games I'm excited for?
Do it.
Friday night. So just have a look. Tell me if this is an 8-point game or not. All right, let's go. Essendon, Sydney at Marvel Stadium.
It's everything.
That's an everything game, isn't it? Well, that's 8 plus more.
Get it wrong and it's complete lights out. Yep.
Gold Coast, Melbourne. I just want to see what happens with Melbourne, and if they get absolutely slaughtered, watch out. GWS Fremantle at NG Stadium. One team potentially makes top 4. One team potentially saves their final spot. Collingwood, Brisbane, MCG Saturday 4:35. I might even go to that. I'm a bit excited. Port versus Adelaide, the showdown. You and Craig Jones and all the Portress blokes versus the Crow Nation. We'll be loving that one. St Kilda versus Geelong. Western Bulldogs versus North. Hawthorn versus Richmond. And a game which will finish the weekend off. We talk about it being the graveyard shifts, mate. No one is getting buried in this graveyard. 4:40 Sunday, West Coast versus Carlton.
Yeah.
That is West Coast win that. Carlton are gone. Season finished. So good footy this week.
It's wild if we just go recap back through that. If Sydney Swans lose that match against Essendon, they could tumble out of the top 4.
That's amazing.
It's just amazing.
It's amazing. Like at this time of the year, that's amazing. Yep. I'm just, like I said, we've got so many issues with the game on the field, deliberate out of bounds, and all that fun stuff. We haven't even talked about umpires this week. I'm not going to worry about it. It was good. But yeah, we've only got 2 weeks left, 8 quarters of footy left, and then final start. It's massive.
Yeah. Certainly is.
You know what's also massive? The round 23 review of a massive week of football. Hey, everybody who's joined us on the chat, thank you very much for your input. Love the questions. Do it every single week. We'll be back next Monday night in one show, not 2. Me being a technical, enough. Also, if you haven't done so, like, subscribe, ring the bell on our YouTube channel. Our latest video has had over 15,000 views and climbing. It has been an absolute ball terror. So we love it. Tori, have a great evening. Everybody else, look after yourselves. Jamie the Jdog, the superstar. Look, this show is just like Hansel and Gretel. It is salt and pepper. It is Beyonce and the other one. We can't do the show without each other. And Jamie's Beyonce. I'm his Lance Bass. He's Timberlake. I'm Lance Bass. But you guys are the audience, and we love you, every single one of you. So, on behalf of us, have a great weekend. I hope your team wins. But more importantly, Jamie the Jdog, how do you want your footy?
I want a lace out.
He loves it lace out. I love him lace out. And everybody, stay beautiful. See you, listeners.
See you, listeners. Love you.
Bye.